Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am Joey Francess, your life, love, and relationship coach. Thank you so much for joining me. So this week's episode, it's going to challenge something that you've probably believed for a long, long time. That closure is real. That it's something you get from someone else. That it's a final conversation, a clean goodbye, a satisfying explanation. I'm here to tell you, at least from what I believe personally, that closure is a myth. It's not something they give you, it's something you create. And in this episode, I'm going to show you how that you can possibly get through this. I'm going to give you some tools, so to speak, to help you work your way through this, as well as why I think that closure is a myth. Because, see, most people think that closure is a moment, a conversation, a text, an apology, a final hug. But here's the truth. Most people don't even get that. They get ghosted, or they get vague excuses. They get silence. And then they wait. And they wait for someone to give them peace, to explain, to validate, to make it make sense. But here's the deeper truth, and I say this with love, that closure is often just an excuse to keep someone emotionally close. It's a way to keep the door open, even just a crack. They keep checking their socials. They keep hoping that they'll come back. They keep hoping that they'll change their mind, or they keep imagining that they will finally say sorry. See, the thing is that it's not about healing closure. It's about bargaining. You're holding on to a fantasy that either the relationship's not over or that the person understands your pain and wants to apologize and validate you. But sometimes, and this is pulled from my book, sometimes we need to accept things as they are, regardless of if there's meaning or not. Literally taking out of my book. Because closure is the story we tell ourselves to delay acceptance, to avoid the grief, to avoid the finality of it. But here's the thing, is that you don't need them to explain why they hurt you. Why they hurt you is irrelevant. The fact is that they hurt you. You don't need them to validate your pain. You're feeling your pain. You don't need them to come back into your life, period. You need to stop holding the wound open and waiting for their words. You need to stop hoping that they'll rewrite the ending. You need to start writing your own ending. Now, I'm sure that we've been in these types of situations before. How about you can pause this and think about somebody you've been waiting on for closure, or for clarity, or for peace. Or better yet, even reflect on all your past relationships and think if there has been a time that you have been in this position waiting for somebody. Because see, the thing is when we say we want closure, what do we really want? What are we really looking for? To feel understood, to feel seen, to feel like our pain mattered. But see, the thing is like, you don't need them to understand you. You need to understand yourself. You don't need them to validate your pain. You need to express it and not hold it in. You don't need them to explain why they hurt you. You need to stop holding open wounds and waiting for their words. Closure isn't something they give you. It's something you have to give yourself. Now, as I mentioned, there's a couple of tools that you can use to help yourself through this time and sort of get over whatever situation that you're in and waiting for closure. And this works in a lot of situations. This isn't just for closure. This works in any sort of situation where loose ends have been left untied, so to speak. So the first tool, it's called the empty chair. And it's simple. It sounds strange, but according to psychology, it works. So what you're going to do is you're going to sit down and you're going to face an empty chair. And you're going to imagine that the person that you're having an issue with or had an issue with is sitting right there. And then you're going to speak. You're going to say the things that you never got to say to them. You're going to ask them the questions that you never got answered. You're going to let the anger out. Let the grief out. Let the truth out. And obviously, they're not there to respond. But see, here's the thing. That's not the point. This isn't about them. It's about you. It's about you being able to release all that you're holding inside you. And another quote from my book is that we falsely imagine that the only speeches we can ever usefully make are to flesh and blood attentive listeners. In truth, it may matter far less that we are heard than what we have a chance to speak. And that's the whole point of the empty chair. It's that we're giving ourselves an opportunity to let all that shit out, all that shit in our head that keeps swimming around, all the scenarios that we play, oh, the reason for this or the reason for that. We just verbal diarrhea all over that empty chair and just get it out of us. Because it's not about being heard. It's about us hearing ourselves and understanding. Okay. Next thing, or the next tool that I can give. And this tool, believe it or not, is one that I've used since probably my mid-20s. And again, this isn't just for this type of situation. It's essentially writing therapy, and I'm sure a bunch of you have already heard about it, or maybe even do it. Like, this is like the whole point of journaling, is to just get stuff out of your head. So at least for myself, when I was younger, I mean, even to this day, technically, I have a hard time sleeping. And the reason being is because when I have nothing to essentially focus on, my brain goes absolutely wild. And I think of all kinds of ideas. I mean, the books, the podcast, anything and everything. And the more that I tried to fight it, at least back then, the more ideas would come and start swimming in my head. And I would like continuously like repeat to myself and remind myself and say like, hey, this is a great idea. I need to do this, or I need to do that, and I need to think about this, and I need to think about that. And it would stop me essentially from sleeping. I'd have insomnia for the most part. And I've tried, the melatonin and, working out before bed and having a warm drink and all that stuff. Even meditation, none of it. Like, meditation essentially is like, does the anti thing for me. Because the minute I try to meditate, even if I'm focusing on my breathing or I'm focusing something else, my mind just immediately wanders and starts thinking of all these crazy ideas. But the one thing that essentially did work for me was writing therapy, is that I would write these ideas down. And it's almost like I'm tricking my brain. It's like, hey, listen, you don't need to think about this anymore because it has been recorded. So if I do need to come back to it, I can just pick up and, read what I wrote. And like, essentially, this is where you take everything swirling inside your head and you write it on paper. It could even be you writing a letter to the person that you have an issue with, not one that you'll send, but just one that you write just to get it out of you. You write the conversation that never happened. You write the truth that you've been afraid to admit. And see, like, the magic about this is that once it's written, it's real, it's recorded, it's out of your system. So you're tricking your brain to thinking like, I don't need to think about this stuff anymore because I have it saved somewhere. And if it's out of your head, it is no longer haunting you. See, a plan is only good if you're able to implement it. And writing is implementing this plan. It's action. In fact, it's emotional accountability. It's also a mirror. When you write, you see yourself from the eyes of a third party. You can look at yourself objectively. You can read everything you've written like if you were reading a story from somebody else. And from there, you can see your own patterns. You can see your pain. You can see your power. You can even give yourself advice, thinking that, hey, you know what, if I was this person in this situation, this is what I would do. Because the funny thing is with advice, you know, as we give people advice, and actually this is another thing in my book, we always like to give people the advice of like the hard thing to do, the right thing to do, as opposed to the easy thing to do. But when we're in it, when we're emotionally drowning essentially in a situation, the hard thing to do isn't necessarily what we want to do because it's hard. So we try to think of easy ways to do things. And even when we go to people for advice, we're hoping that they would validate our decision to be like, you know, take the easy way out. But see, when you write something down, when you clear your head of all that stuff, and really, you know, put it on paper, this is where you can read it, reflect, and say, hey, like, if I was this person, what would I do? Forgetting the part that you are that person, and give yourself the advice, the hard thing to do, the right thing to do. And then maybe even like think about it and say, hey, okay, if I was this person, this is what I would do. Well, it looks like I am this person, so maybe I should take my own advice and I should do this. And again, I know it's very, very, very hard to do those things, but this is all part of making yourself emotionally right, essentially, and clearing your mind of holding on to things from the past, needing that closure from somebody that you'll never get. And so if by any chance you are going through this, just start writing and then read it out loud to yourself. Let it echo and then let it exit. I'm going to tell you a story about this woman who came to me about some issues she was having. So she met a guy at a party, and it's, you know, one of those nights where, and this is like her words to me, it was like one of those nights where she just knew that there was like some sort of excitement, like something was going to happen. Like, you know, when you get yourself all dolled up and you're like, oh yeah, like, you know, I look good, I smell good, I feel good, I got gray hair today. Like something's going to happen. And she goes to this party and she ends up meeting a guy, which granted, that doesn't happen that often anymore, right? So when it does happen, it sort of adds like this extra layer of something special. And, you know, talks to the whole guy all night. They share playlists, they laugh, you know, share obscure memes. And it's like the feeling is that something real's happened. Like, oh my God, something's real's happening here. So, you know, starts talking to this guy, exchanging numbers, they start dating. But it never becomes official. Like no labels, no clarity, just really, really good vibes. But at the same time, there was confusion. They see each other often. She met his friends. She even stayed over his place. You know, they talked about dreams and even like dug deep into like childhood wounds and talking about favorite movies and all this stuff. But every time she asked, where are we? He'd say, let's not ruin this, you know, with labels or pressure. Let's just keep enjoying it for what it is. Even though that's like a stupid line because she's asking, what is this? And he's like, let's not ruin what this is by giving it a label. So dumb. But anyway, I'm not judging. I'm not judging. But she ended up staying with him, hoping that he would eventually choose her, hoping that the connection would be enough and that she could, get that, get what she needed out of it to say like, hey, you know what? We are exclusive. We are for each other type of thing. But it never happened. Weeks went by. Like, this wasn't a very long-term thing, but I mean, some people tend to jump the gun when heavy emotions are there. And you know who you are out there. You know who you are, who get like extra excited. But yeah, one day he just stopped messaging her. No fight, no explanation, just silence. And again, a couple weeks would go by and nothing. She would keep checking her phone, wondering what she did wrong. She'd keep replaying every moment, every word, every kiss in her head. She'd have problems sleeping, problem eating. She couldn't stop hoping that he would come back and just say, hey, listen, sorry, I was busy with blah, 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 blah. Or sorry, you meant so much to me. And this was so fast and heavy that it scared me. But the truth is that I love you and, But obviously, it didn't come. And essentially, that's when she reached out to me and she just said to me, like, I'm having a very hard time with this because, like, I'm not going to lie, I want him to come back. I know that he's disappeared for weeks at this point, but I want him to come back. Like, we had something so special. Like, I want that back. It was so magical. It felt amazing. And I even said to her, I'm like, but you have to understand though, like, sometimes no answer is an answer. Well, every time no answer is an answer, The fact that he just disappeared, I'm like, are you okay being treated this way? Are you, like, even if he did come back, right? What's going to happen? You have this magical bunch of moments again. You try to create something serious out of this, but how does it end? He's just gonna like either get scared, like someone who's avoidant, and just disappear and then come back when he feels safe again, or when things aren't getting too hot and heavy. And that's essentially what the rest of your life is going to look like. Is that something you want? And obviously the answer is no, because, everybody's hoping for that fairy tale ending where the person comes back and is like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I love you. And then you live happily ever after and none of this bullshit problems happen again. But that's not essentially the world that we live in, right? So she essentially asked that she needed closure. She's like, I just need closure. And I said, well, you got your closure already. He left, he's gone. Like, that's it. He closed it. Imagine you're working on your laptop and without hitting the power button, you just slam the laptop shut. It's done. It's gone. It's finished. Closure isn't something that he can give you. See, the fact that you're being honest with me, or me talking to her, the fact that she's being honest with me and telling me that she hopes that he comes back. Well, obviously you don't want it to end. So obviously you don't want closure, because closure is accepting the fact that it's done. It's something that you have to create within yourself. And I told her, I'm like, you know what? Why don't you try the empty chair exercise? And I told her, I'm like, just sit down, face the chair, imagine him sitting there, and ask him a bunch of questions. Let it all out. Let out everything you need to say. And essentially she did it. And she told me that she said to herself, why did you keep me hanging when you knew you didn't want this? Why did you make me feel like I was too much when all I wanted was clarity? Why did you let me fall while you stayed on the fence? And apparently, that worked for her. It took some time, and she had to do it a bunch of times to really, exercise the demons, so to speak. But after, I don't know, it was like about a week of her reporting back that she was doing this, she said that she finally feels like it's over. And she finally feels like she's gotten everything out that she needed to get out. And she gave herself that closure. And she gave herself the truth that even if he was to come back, this isn't the type of relationship that she wanted. This isn't the type of person that she wanted to be with. That she wanted to be with somebody who loved her, respected her, and didn't treat her this way, essentially. So, let's talk about the real pivot point when it comes to healing. And the thing is that it's not closure. It's not closure at all. What it is accountability. See, closure is saying, like, I need them to explain. And the funny thing is, even if they were to explain to you, even if you like magically waved a wand and that person that didn't give you the closure that you wanted, that person that you have beef with or whatever with, you can like wave a wand magically and sit them down in front of you and then say, okay, I need you to explain why you did what you did. Why did you hurt me? Why did you leave? Why did you ghost me? Why did you blah, 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 blah. And that they, because of your magic wand, had to tell you the 100% truth. Do you know the funny thing that would happen? Do you know the funny thing that would happen? You wouldn't believe them. You wouldn't believe them. Because see, here's the thing. You have an idea in your head of what happened, right? So, let's just play the game. They ghosted you. So in your head, you're like, why did they ghost me? And you've probably thought of countless reasons why somebody would have ghosted you. And you might have gone from like the really nice stuff, like, oh my God, maybe his dog died and, he needed time to handle it. Or, all the way to, oh, this guy's a player and he's talking to, God knows how many other women. Or vice versa, if you're a guy doing this. I don't know. I just naturally went that way first. Nonetheless. And then you got them to sit in front of you and they had to be 100% honest. And they said to you, well, I'm going to be honest with you. I ghosted you because I was talking to a bunch of other people and you just weren't at the top of the list. Sorry, like, I don't know. You just weren't attractive enough, or you just weren't smart enough, or, you just didn't have the things that I'm looking for, and I'm a coward and I couldn't, say bye to you. If it was one of the scenarios that you were thinking about in your head, what ends up happening? Oh, this person's so full of shit. Oh my God, they're so full of shit. They're just saying this shit to pander to me, to shut me up so they can get out of this chair. That's the only reason why they're saying this shit. And that's what you would tell yourself. You wouldn't believe them. They screwed you over. They have like absolutely zero trust with you. And then the funny thing is if their answer was different than something you thought of, if they said to you, oh, I got back together with my ex, and I know, and I'm so sorry. I just didn't know how to tell you, and blah, 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 blah. Again, you would have been like, oh my God, this guy's giving me like such a bullshit answer because he couldn't just tell me that he didn't like me, or you couldn't tell me that I wasn't good enough for him, or whatever the case is. So even if you were able to sit someone down and ask them and get them to explain what you wanted them to explain, you wouldn't believe them anyways. So that's more for a reason to believe that closure is just a load of bullshit. It's about accountability. You need to understand yourself. See, closure waits. Accountability moves. Closure holds you in a spot. Accountability lets you go out and continue living your life, starting something new, exploring and living. Closure is passive. accountability is active. And here's the truth that most people don't want to hear, is that you don't need closure. You need clarity. You need to stop outsourcing your peace to someone who's already showed you that they couldn't protect it. See, let me break that down for you. Accountability doesn't mean blaming yourself. It means owning your part. It means asking yourself, why did I stay when I felt unseen? Why did I ignore the red flags? Why did I keep hoping that they'd change when they kept showing me who they were? And it's not about shame. It's not. It's about power. It's about learning from your mistakes. Because once you own your part, you can change your pattern. You're learning from your past relationships to better your future ones. So there's this guy that I worked with, and essentially he was just dating very emotionally unavailable women. And this is the type of guy, and we all know this guy. This is the type of guy who fell in love very, very, very quickly. We all know somebody that's like that. And if you don't know somebody that's like that, maybe it's you. Maybe. But anyways, and he would always like rack himself when a girl would like ghost him or tell him that like, oh yeah, I know, I need some space, I need free time, I need this, I need that, you're smothering me, blah, 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 blah. And he would always like hold on and be like, no, she's going to come back. No, she's going to come back. She's going to come back. She's going to realize how amazing I am or how attentive I am or how loving I am. She's going to come back. And I'd say, I'd be like, listen, man, listen. Why do you want to be with someone that treats you this way? Why do you want that? Why? Like, you're essentially doing this to yourself at this point, you know? You're waiting for someone to break it off, even though they sort of already did. Maybe they weren't, you know, completely forthright with what they said to you. But essentially that's what they were doing, because them saying I need space and then ghosting you, or not ghosting you because they said that they needed space, they're telling you, but not responding to you. Or that, you know, they needed time, or that you're not the one. I mean, some of these girls, like I've even read some of his text messages. Some of these girls just said it straight out, like, listen, I'm not interested in you that way. And yet he was still holding on to something, to like, oh, no, she didn't really mean that. Like, she's going to come back. Like, you're literally holding on to nothing. And then he would just say to me, he's like, yeah, but like, I didn't get the proper closure from them. So like, you know, they're going to come back because these are amazing women. You know, they really like me. They're going to come back. And this guy was so completely delusional. But what he really needed was a kick in the ass. And I was the one that sort of tried to give it to him. I tried to give it to him. I'm not going to lie. Didn't really work. But lucky for him, he did manage to find someone and get married. This happened quite some time ago. But even then, back then, like I sat down with him and, you know, we sort of like reflected together because he needed help, and looked back at all his past relationships and how they started, how they went, and how they ended. And then he realized that he was essentially choosing people who couldn't love him. Again, that didn't necessarily help, but at least he reflected that point, that he kept choosing people that weren't right for him, or people that weren't choosing him back. And at the end of the day, deep down, he didn't believe that he deserved any better than that. He had issues with his weight and things like that growing up. So his self-esteem, maybe like on the outside, he was marginally confident, but on the inside, no, he was still that overweight kid. But nonetheless, you know, being able to look back, being able to reflect on past relationships and sort of at least see the patterns that you're going through. Because if you're seeing that the same thing is happening every single time, I don't necessarily mean that the problem is you, but at the same time, could it be you? Yeah, it could. It doesn't necessarily mean it was you, your personality. It could be just the people that you're choosing or the people that you seem to be attracted to. And I mean, in past episodes, I've mentioned it a bunch of times, you know, maybe you're just choosing the wrong people. And you say to yourself, oh, but I only attract XYZ. And it's like, no, you're only choosing XYZ. Again, something to reflect on in your past. Looking back, looking at all your past relationships, not even just relationships, looking at all the past times that you've dated and the people that you've dated and seeing that, hey, maybe I am choosing the wrong people. That's what accountability is. It's you saying, I've been making these choices. I need to make better choices. That's it. It's about clarity. And it's about healing ultimately. Because once you realize or recognize what you're doing, it is much easier to deviate from that pattern. I'm not saying it's going to be, overnight, but you're giving yourself the knowledge so that when you start talking to somebody, you can run down a checklist, even within yourself. Am I doing the same thing as I am doing before? Does this guy share the same qualities as the guys that I've dated before? Am I letting someone take advantage of me, like I used to before? And then it's giving yourself that third party view. So saying, shit, you know what? I am. I need to. And that's essentially what, I was helping with this guy. So if you are stuck in the loop, replaying the breakups, rereading the texts, and waiting for an apology, ask yourself, what are you choosing? Why are you choosing to wait? And why aren't you choosing to heal? Why aren't you choosing to walk away? Find someone that's worth your time. So, just to wrap things up, what I want you to do after you're done listening to this, find a chair, sit down, and then ask yourself, and then sit in front of an empty chair and ask yourself, who should be sitting there? Who do I have unfinished business with, so to speak? Who do I have not closure? And I'm doing air quotes for those of you that are watching. And then speak to that person. And if that's not something that sounds sane for you to do, because I know it's a little bit crazy. It is. You're talking to nobody. I get it. But it works. I know it sounds silly, but it works. You're just letting shit out. You know what? If you don't even believe me that this could work, do this instead. Next time you're laying somewhere by yourself, grab a pillow, suffocate yourself, and while you're doing that, scream as loud as you possibly can, thinking about all the frustrations that you've had for the day, the week, the month, the year, whatever the case is. Just replay those frustrations in your head and just scream into that pillow. Scream bloody murder. That if somebody was to hear you, they would call 911 thinking that you're being murdered. Scream into that pillow. I don't even give a shit if you're a man or a woman. Guys, man up and do this too. Do it. And then tell me that it wasn't therapeutic. Then tell me that it didn't help you. Because I call bullshit. Because it does work. It does feel good. It's about letting out our frustrations. And if that can work, if you yelling into a pillow could even offer you a moment of peace and calm, then why wouldn't you yelling at someone in an empty chair provide you with the same experience? Maybe even a little bit more tailored to what's going on in your head rather than something as broad as, what's been frustrating me all week, all month, all year. Okay. And if that doesn't work for you, if that's not something that you're interested in trying, then you know what? Pick up a pen and a piece of paper. Go open up your laptop. Open up a new Word document. I don't give a shit. Open up Notepad. Open your phone. Go to the notes section and start writing. Write all the shit that's going on in your head. It doesn't even have to be just bad shit. Like, you don't even have to think about the bad shit. Just write what's going on in your head right now. What's going on in your head? And I mean, if you've been watching this or listening to this, I'm sure that I've triggered something for you to think about from your past. Someone that you haven't had like closure with, so to speak. And just start writing. Write whatever's in there, you know? I don't care if it's like, I had to get gas today. I really wanted to wash my car, but it looked like it was going to rain. But I hate the opportunity of not washing my car because I love having a clean car. But I know that if I wash my car, the heavens are going to open up and it's going to start raining. That's something that's inside my head. I'm sure you could have guessed that. But I don't even care if that's what it is. Just write it down. Just write it down. Yeah. That's it pretty much. You know, I hope that anything and everything that I've said has triggered something in you, to help you get the closure that you're looking for, to help you accept accountability within yourself and your life and those who you date and have a relationship with. Because, see, at the end of the day, closure isn't something that these people can give you. Closure is something you create, and you deserve to be free. You deserve to not have this. You deserve to not be waiting around for somebody. Again, this is pulled from my book. You are where you are based on the choices you've made in your life. So, choose to heal, choose to speak, choose to write, and most importantly, choose to move forward. Thank you so much for listening to me. I honestly appreciate you guys so very much. If by any chance this didn't necessarily apply to you, like, you're good. Maybe there is somebody in your life who you know that needs closure from something. Maybe this episode could really help them. And I would love it if you were to possibly share that with them. Yeah, listen, if you have any other ideas for me to talk about or questions that you want to ask me, feel free, go to my website. That's joeyfrances.com, joeyfrances.com. There you can actually send me a direct email or a message, and I will get back to you. Or I'll make a whole podcast about it, either or. That's pretty much it. That's all I got. So for this week, I want you to heal smarter, love deeper, and live better. Till next time.